The massive display screen at Earth Space Command Center lit up with unprecedented alerts. Jack Brown, the night shift supervisor, nearly spilled his coffee when the readings appeared. Hundreds of unknown objects had just emerged from what appeared to be a fold in space near Jupiter's orbit. "Get the director," Jack ordered, his eyes fixed on the screen. "And someone wake up our best analysts." Within an hour, the command center was buzzing with activity. Director Robert White stood at the center of the room, watching as more data poured in. The objects weren't asteroids or any natural phenomenon. They were ships. Massive ships, each one larger than the biggest vessel humanity had ever built. "Sir, we're picking up signals," announced Lisa, the communications expert. "They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. It's definitely artificial." The entire room fell silent. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't coming through a carefully planned meeting or a distant signal from the stars. It was happening right here, right now, in their own solar system. "The signals," Lisa continued, her voice shaking slightly, "they match known patterns of distress calls. Whatever these ships are, they're in trouble." Director White didn't hesitate. "Get me the World Space Council now." As emergency meetings were called across the globe, more data revealed the dire situation. The alien fleet consisted of 50 massive ships, each showing signs of severe damage. Their power signatures were fluctuating dangerously, and some ships appeared to be running on emergency systems only. "The lead ship is transmitting something different," Lisa reported. "It looks like images." Putting them on screen. The main display filled with sequences of pictures. They showed beams of light and crystal, their ships once gleaming and pristine, now battle-scared and failing. The final images displayed their life support systems, critical resources depleting rapidly. "They're not trying to invade," Director White realized. "They're asking for help." Within 6 hours, space agencies worldwide mobilized their resources. The International Space Station expanded its emergency protocols to include possible alien rescue operations. Every available spacecraft was prepared for launch. The first human response came from the nearby Mars colony. 2 supply ships altered their course to approach the alien fleet. Captain James Wilson, commanding the supply vessel Horizon, made humanity's first direct contact. "Unknown fleet, this is Captain Wilson of the Earth vessel Horizon. We've received your distress signal. We're here to help." The response came in pulses of light and complex mathematical sequences. The aliens were trying to communicate through universal constants, numbers, basic physics, and simple geometric shapes. As the Horizon approached the nearest alien ship, the crew got their first close look at the vessels. They were enormous crystalline structures, almost organic in appearance, with sections that seemed to pulse with internal light. But many of these sections were dark now, and huge cracks marred their once smooth surfaces. "My God," Wilson whispered. Through the viewing port, he could see movement inside the crystal hull. Thousands of beings of pure light, their glow flickering like dying stars. The ship's engineer, Bill Turner, analyzed the readings. "Their main power systems are completely burnt out. Life support is running on emergency backup. I'd estimate they have less than 72 hours before total failure." Wilson made a decision that would change human history. "Begin docking procedures. We're going aboard." As the Horizon carefully maneuvered alongside the massive alien vessel, Earth's governments raced to organize the largest rescue operation in human history. Every space-worthy vessel was being prepared for launch. Scientists worldwide worked to understand the alien technology, and medical teams studied how to possibly help beings made of light and crystal. The aliens had appeared with no warning, no invitation, and no hostile intent. They had come seeking sanctuary, and humanity faced its first true test as a spacefaring civilization. The next few days would prove whether humans could rise above their differences and save an entire species from extinction. As the airlock cycled and Captain Wilson prepared to step aboard the alien vessel, He knew he wasn't just representing Earth anymore. He was representing the very essence of humanity. Its compassion, its ingenuity, and its willingness to help those in need, no matter how different they might be. The story of humanity's greatest rescue mission was about to begin. The emergency meeting of the World Space Council stretched into its fourth hour. Representatives from every spacefaring nation argued about protocols, risks, and resources. But time was running out for the alien refugees. Enough. Director White slammed his hand on the table. While we debate, thousands are dying. We have 70 ships ready to launch. I say we use them all. The council chamber fell silent. Then, one by one, the representatives nodded. Humanity's greatest rescue mission was given the green light. Within hours, launch facilities worldwide roared to life. Rockets lifted off from Kazakhstan, Florida, China, and India. The Mars colony diverted all its resources, sending every available ship toward the alien fleet. Earth's orbital stations began stockpiling emergency supplies. Captain Tom Miller stood on the bridge of the Salvation, Earth's newest and largest rescue vessel. His crew was a mix of the world's best: engineers, doctors, linguists, and space rescue specialists. Their mission was to save as many aliens as possible. All ships report ready, his first officer announced. Fleet is forming up. The sight was incredible. 70 human vessels, ranging from small rescue craft to massive cargo ships, moved in formation toward the dying alien fleet. It was the largest space operation in human history. The alien ships looked worse up close. Their crystal surfaces were cracked, with sections completely dark. Emergency lights pulsed weakly through the transparent hull, revealing the desperate situation inside. Engineering team, report, Miller called over the comm. Chief Engineer Dave Parker's voice crackled back. Captain, their technology is like nothing we've seen. The ships seem to be partly alive, crystal and energy, combined into living machines, but they're dying. The core systems are failing faster than we thought. Miller made a bold decision. We're going to dock with the lead ship, prepare emergency teams. The Salvation carefully maneuvered alongside the massive alien vessel. Through the viewports, the crew could see the beams of light moving inside, their glow dimming with each passing hour. The docking procedure was tense. Human airlocks weren't designed for crystal ships. The engineering team worked frantically to create a safe connection between the vessels. Connection stable, Parker reported. But sir, our atmosphere, we don't know if it's safe for them. Miller nodded. Full environmental suits, everyone. We go in prepared for anything. The rescue team entered the alien ship through the makeshift airlock. The interior was a maze of crystal corridors, some dark, others pulsing with fading light. The beings they encountered were barely solid, forms of pure energy held together by crystalline shells. One of the aliens approached Miller's team. It communicated through pulses of light that the ship's computer attempted to translate. Help, dying, children first. Miller's heart clenched. Some things were universal. Even beings of pure energy protected their young first. Tell them we're here to help everyone, he ordered. No one gets left behind. The rescue operation spread across the fleet. Human ships docked with alien vessels, creating makeshift bridges between completely different technologies. Engineers worked miracles, rigging temporary life support systems that could sustain beings of energy. Back on Earth, every available resource was mobilized. The world's best scientists worked around the clock to understand the alien biology. Military ships were converted into rescue vessels. Space stations were redesigned to house beings of light. The first successful transfer occurred 8 hours into the operation. A group of young aliens, their light barely flickering, was safely moved to the Salvation. The ship's medical bay had been converted into an energy containment center, powered by modified fusion reactors. Life signs stabilizing, reported Dr. Helen Woods, who had redesigned the medical bay. They're getting stronger. The news spread quickly through the rescue fleet. It was possible. They could save them. Miller watched as more aliens were transferred to human ships. Despite the differences in biology, despite the language barrier, despite the enormous technological gap, humanity had found a way. "Captain," his first officer called. "The other alien ships are signaling. They're ready for evacuation." Miller looked at his crew, saw the determination in their eyes. This was humanity at its best, reaching across the stars to help those in need, no matter who or what they were. "Tell all ships," he ordered, "this is just the beginning. We're not stopping until every last one is safe." The rescue of the century had only just begun. The science lab aboard the Salvation hummed with activity as Dr. Kate Reed stared at her computer screen. For 48 hours straight, she and her team had been analyzing the light patterns the aliens used to communicate. "Look at this pattern," she told her assistant, pointing to a repeating sequence. "It's not just random pulses. They're using light the way we use sound waves." The breakthrough came when one of the younger aliens approached their observation window. It began creating complex geometric shapes with its light, repeating them over and over. "It's teaching us," Kate realized, "like how we teach a child." The aliens' patterns started simple, basic shapes, numbers, then more complex concepts. Kate's team worked frantically to document everything, feeding it into their translation matrix. "Each color means something different," she explained to Captain Miller during his visit to the lab. "Blue for questions, white for statements, red for urgency. The intensity shows importance." The captain watched as the alien continued its lesson. "How long until we can actually talk to them?" "We're getting there," Kate replied, adjusting her program. "The computer is starting to recognize patterns. Watch this." She sent a simple light pattern back to the alien. A blue pulse, followed by a sequence they'd seen repeated. The alien's glow brightened significantly. Excitement, they'd learned, and it responded with a similar pattern. "What did you say?" Miller asked. "I think I just said, 'Hello,'" Kate smiled. And it said hello back. The breakthrough spread quickly through the rescue fleet. Every ship with alien passengers began using the basic light patterns to communicate. The aliens, sensing the humans' efforts, became more deliberate in their teachings. Hours later, Kate's team made another discovery. The aliens weren't just using light. They were using the crystalline structures around them to amplify and modify their messages. "The crystal walls aren't just walls," she explained to the gathered officers. "They're part of their communication system, like a giant optical computer." With this knowledge, the translation efforts accelerated. The aliens showed them how to use their ship's crystals to enhance communication. Soon, simple concepts became clear: danger, safety, food, help. Then came the story they'd been waiting for. Through the improved translation matrix, the aliens, who called themselves the Bright Ones, began sharing what had happened to them. Their home system had been dying. A massive stellar event had threatened to destroy everything. They saw it coming, Kate translated, her voice soft with emotion. They had time to build these ships, to save as many as they could. But the evacuation wasn't complete when their star exploded. The Bright Ones showed images through their light patterns, a beautiful crystalline world, shattered by stellar forces. Millions had been lost. The survivors, 300,000 strong, had fled blindly through space, their ships damaged by the shockwave. "That's why their ships are failing," an engineer added. "They were never meant to travel this far. They were just trying to get away." The translation matrix grew more sophisticated by the hour. The Bright Ones began learning human languages with incredible speed, their light patterns adapting to form words and sentences. "Your kind," one of their leaders communicated, "shows great courage. Many would fear the different. You embrace it." Kate worked with the alien leader, whom they called the First Light, to create a more permanent communication system. They combined human-computer technology with crystal resonators from the alien ships. "We need to understand each other better," Kate told the First Light, "if we're going to help your people survive." The first light's response was clear even before the translation. Understanding grows between us like a new star being born. As the rescue operation continued, the language barrier crumbled. Humans and Bright Ones worked together, combining their knowledge to save lives. The aliens shared their story, their culture, their hopes and fears. Captain Miller received the report in his quarters. Dr. Reed's team has done it, his first officer announced. Full communication protocols are established. The Bright Ones can now talk directly with any ship in the fleet. Miller smiled. In just 3 days, humanity had gone from first contact to having conversations with beings from another star. It was proof that when survival was at stake, differences in biology, technology, or language couldn't stand in the way of cooperation. The real work of saving the Bright Ones could finally begin. Engineer Mike Anderson stood in the makeshift laboratory, surrounded by a mix of human technology and alien crystals. The problem was clear. The Bright Ones needed energy to survive, but their power systems were failing. "We can't just hook them up to our generators," he explained to his team. "They don't just need power, they need the right kind of power." The Bright Ones had shown them how their ships worked. The crystals weren't just for structure or communication. They were part of a complex energy web that sustained their entire civilization. "Look at this," Mike pointed to a working crystal segment. "The energy flows through specific patterns. It's like they're drinking light itself." The human engineers had been working nonstop, trying to adapt Earth's fusion technology to support alien life. They'd made progress, but not fast enough. More ships were failing every hour. Then came the accident that changed everything. One of the junior engineers accidentally dropped a piece of alien crystal near a fusion containment field. Instead of breaking, the crystal began to glow, pulsing with renewed energy. "Stop," Mike shouted, rushing to the crystal. "Nobody touch it. Look." The crystal had somehow tapped into the fusion field, converting the raw energy into something the Bright Ones could use. It wasn't just conducting power, it was transforming it. "Get me the biggest crystal sample we can safely move," Mike ordered. "And I need our portable fusion generator." The team worked through the night, setting up their experimental system. They placed a large crystal matrix inside a modified fusion containment field, then carefully adjusted the power flow. The crystal began to glow, brighter and brighter, until it matched the natural light of a healthy Bright One. When they brought one of their alien guests to test it, the response was immediate. The being's own light strengthened as it absorbed energy from the crystal. "It works," Mike breathed. "We did it." The discovery spread quickly through the fleet. Every ship with fusion capability began converting their systems. The Bright Ones, seeing what the humans had achieved, shared more of their crystal technology. "Your fusion power," one of their scientists communicated, "it's crude but strong. Like a young star. Our crystals can shape it, guide it. Together, they make something new." The hybrid systems were installed ship by ship. Bright Ones who had been barely clinging to life began to strengthen. Their light grew steady, their communication more clear. In gratitude, they began sharing their medical knowledge. They showed the humans how their crystalline technology could be used to heal, to preserve, to enhance. "Watch," a Bright One demonstrated, touching a damaged crystal with its light. The crystal didn't just repair, it grew stronger, better than before. The humans learned that the Bright Ones could manipulate matter at its most fundamental level, using their energy to reshape and improve materials. It was technology so advanced it seemed like magic. Mike and his team worked with the aliens to apply this knowledge to their hybrid systems. Each improvement made the power transfer more efficient, more stable. "We're not just keeping them alive now," he reported to Captain Miller. "We're helping them thrive." The first successful ship-to-ship transfer began 20 hours after the power breakthrough. Bright Ones from the most damaged vessels were moved to ships with working hybrid systems. The sight was incredible. Streams of living light flowing through specially designed crystal conduits, moving from dying ships to safe havens. Each transfer was a victory, Another group saved from certain death. The Bright Ones shared more than just technical knowledge. They showed humans how to see energy in new ways, how to understand the subtle patterns that existed in all things. Your people learned quickly, the First Light told Mike through the translator. You see problems and find new paths around them. This is why we trust you. Trust had been earned through innovation, through humans' willingness to combine the old with the new, to take risks to save lives. In the command center, Mike watched the power readings from across the fleet. More than half of the refugee ships now had working hybrid systems. The rest would be converted within days. We've changed everything, he told his team. Not just how we think about power and energy, but how two completely different species can work together. The rescue mission had become something more, a technological renaissance that would change both civilizations forever. The warning alarms blared across the fleet. The Aurora, one of the largest alien vessels holding over 20,000 Bright Ones, was breaking apart. Multiple structural failures, reported the sensor officer. The crystal matrix is shattering. They're losing containment in all sections. Captain Miller stared at the massive ship through the Salvation's viewport. Huge cracks were spreading across its surface like spider webs, glowing with dangerous energy. How many still aboard? He demanded. 15,000, came the reply. The evacuation was only partially complete. The captain made a decision that would test the limits of human courage. Prepare for emergency spacewalking rescue operations. I'm leading the team myself. The Salvation moved closer to the dying vessel, matching its slow spin. Other rescue ships approached from different angles, preparing for the most dangerous operation of the mission. Sir, his first officer protested, the radiation levels near those cracks are within survival limits for our suits, Miller finished. Barely, but we're not leaving thousands to die. Teams of spacewalkers launched from multiple ships, using newly designed crystal-powered thrusters. The Bright Ones had helped modify their suits, adding crystal reinforcement to protect against the deadly energy leaks. Miller led the first team through a gap in the failing hull. Inside, the scene was chaos. Bright Ones moved in panic, their light flickering wildly as the ship's power fluctuated. Stay calm, he transmitted, both in words and light patterns. We're here to help. Follow our guidance lights. The rescue teams set up emergency transport corridors, crystal pathways that could safely channel the Bright Ones from their dying ship to the rescue vessels. But the ship was breaking up faster than expected. Captain, an engineer called. The main power core is going critical. We have maybe 20 minutes. Miller directed his team deeper into the vessel. They found whole sections where the crystal walls had already shattered, leaving Bright Ones trapped in failing energy pockets. The spacewalkers worked frantically, using portable crystal generators to create temporary bridges across broken sections. Each group of survivors they found was guided to the nearest transport corridor. 10 minutes to core breach, came the warning. A massive crack suddenly split the deck beneath them. Two of Miller's team were caught on the wrong side as a section of the ship began to drift away. Jump, Miller ordered. Use your thrusters at full power. The team members activated their crystal-enhanced thrusters, leaping across the widening gap just as the section broke free. Behind them, part of the massive ship floated away into space, dark and lifeless. 5 minutes. They reached the deepest part of the ship, where the youngest Bright Ones were kept in special crystal nurseries. The adult aliens had stayed behind to protect them, even as their own energy dimmed. We're not leaving anyone, Miller transmitted. Everyone goes, or no one does. His team deployed their strongest crystal bridges, creating a path for the young ones and their guardians. The adult Bright Ones used their remaining strength to help move the children, their light growing weaker with each passing moment. 2 minutes to core breach. Captain, you must evacuate now. The last group was nearly at the transport corridor when the ship gave a massive shudder. The core was beginning to collapse. Go, Miller ordered his team, staying behind to help the final stragglers. The spacewalkers and Bright Ones moved as fast as they could through the crystal corridors. Behind them, the ship's structure was failing completely. Miller helped the last young one into the corridor just as the final warning came. Core breach imminent. Clear the ship. He launched himself through the transport corridor, pushing off with all his strength. Behind him, the ship's power core finally gave way. The explosion lit up space like a new star being born. Rescue ships moved away at emergency speed, their holds full of saved refugees. When the light faded, Miller looked back. The Aurora was gone, transformed into a cloud of crystal shards that glittered in the sunlight. But they'd done it. Over 15,000 Bright Ones had been saved in just under 30 minutes. It was the most dangerous and successful rescue operation in human history. As his team returned to the Salvation, Miller received a message from the First Light. Your bravery will be remembered in our songs of light for generations to come. Director White stood before the World Space Council, presenting humanity's boldest plan yet. The holograms behind him showed Jupiter's orbital stations, massive structures that humanity had built as stepping stones to the outer solar system. These stations were meant to house thousands of human colonists, he explained. With modifications, they could save an entire species. The Jupiter Colonial Network consisted of 12 orbital stations, each one a marvel of human engineering. They were originally designed to support deep space exploration and resource mining around Jupiter's moons. The Bright Ones have already helped us understand how to adapt our technology, he continued. Their crystal systems can be integrated with our station's infrastructure. The council members watched as technical diagrams appeared, showing how the stations could be transformed. The Bright One's crystal technology would enhance the human power systems, creating perfect environments for both species. It's not just about survival anymore, Director White said. It's about building a future together. The council's approval was unanimous. Within hours, the largest construction project in human history began. The rescue fleet, carrying thousands of Bright Ones, changed course for Jupiter. At Jupiter Station 1, Chief Engineer Linda Marshall watched as the first crystal panels were installed. The Bright Ones worked alongside human technicians, their light forming complex patterns that reshaped the station's materials. It's amazing, she told her team. They're not just adding to our technology. They're teaching it to grow, to adapt. The stations transformed day by day. Crystal structures grew from metal walls, creating spaces where beings of light could exist comfortably alongside humans. Power systems merged and evolved, becoming more efficient than either species had managed alone. The First Light toured the first completed section with station leaders. Your people build with metal and machines, it communicated. We build with light and crystal. Together, we create something new. The station's medical bays were revolutionized. Bright One healers showed humans how to use crystal technology to treat injuries and illnesses. In return, human doctors helped the aliens understand biological life better. Look at this, Dr. Paul Wilson demonstrated to his colleagues. Their crystal technology can repair damaged human tissue at the cellular level. It's beyond anything we've ever seen. As more refugees arrived, the stations became more than just shelters. Cultural exchange centers were established, where humans and Bright Ones could learn from each other. The aliens shared their vast knowledge of space and energy, while humans taught them about art, music, and the diversity of biological life. They're fascinated by our emotions, reported Dr. Emma Hayes, head of cultural studies. They experience feelings through changes in their light. When we showed them human music, their whole being started pulsing with the rhythm. The station's observation decks became gathering places where both species would meet. Humans watched in awe as Bright Ones created beautiful light displays against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling clouds. Construction teams made another breakthrough when they found a way to create hybrid living quarters. Special rooms were designed where humans could safely interact with Bright Ones without protective suits, using crystal technology to maintain perfect conditions for both species. This isn't just a refugee camp anymore, Linda told Director White during his inspection. We're building the first true multi-species civilization. The transformation of Jupiter's stations progressed faster than anyone had expected. The Bright One's ability to manipulate matter at the atomic level, combined with human innovation, accomplished in weeks what should have taken years. Even the station's external structures were enhanced. Crystal growths spread across the outer hulls, strengthening them against radiation and micrometeors while collecting solar energy more efficiently than any human technology. Our children will grow up together, the First Light told the station leaders, learning from each other, building a greater future than either of our species could achieve alone. As the last group of refugees settled into their new homes, humanity realized they had gained far more than they had given. The Jupiter stations had become a symbol of what was possible when different species worked together. Director White stood at the main observation deck, watching human children pointing excitedly at young bright ones who were learning to create their first light patterns. "We set out to save them," he said to his staff, "but in the end, they helped us take our next step into the future." The Jupiter Colonial Network had become humanity's first successful multi-species space colony, a beacon of hope shining brightly against the vast darkness of space. 1 year after the Great Rescue, the Jupiter stations had become more than anyone had imagined. The combined knowledge of humans and bright ones had sparked a technological renaissance that was changing the face of the solar system. In the main research center of Station 3, Director White stood before a remarkable sight. The first hybrid starship, named Unity, floated in the massive construction bay. Its hull was a perfect blend of human engineering and alien crystal technology. "Beautiful, isn't it?" asked Linda Marshall, now Chief of Hybrid Technologies. "The crystal matrix grows through the entire structure. It's alive in ways we're only beginning to understand." The Unity represented the best of both worlds. Its core was built around human fusion technology, enhanced by crystal matrices that made it 10 times more powerful. The hull could repair itself, and its sensor systems could detect things human instruments never could. "The test flights have been perfect," Linda continued. "It's faster and more efficient than anything either of our species built alone." In the ship's control room, human pilots worked alongside Bright One navigators. The control systems responded to both physical touch and light patterns, allowing both species to operate the ship naturally. The First Light appeared beside them, its glow strong and steady. "This ship," it communicated, "is more than transportation. It is proof that different species can build wonders together." Throughout the stations, similar collaborations were changing everything. Medical bays now cured diseases that were once fatal. Power systems provided clean, nearly unlimited energy. Communication networks stretched deeper into space than ever before. In the education centers, human and Bright One children learned together. Young humans were beginning to understand the light language naturally, while young Bright Ones learned to modify their energy patterns to interact better with physical matter. "Watch this," said Peter, a 10-year-old student, as he used a crystal tool to create a small light display. Beside him, a young Bright One pulsed with excitement, adding its own patterns to Peter's creation. The crystal gardens, once built for the Bright One's comfort, had become places of incredible beauty. Humans learned to help grow and shape the living crystals, while the Bright Ones learned to appreciate the subtle beauty of biological plants that the humans had brought. "We're planning the first deep space expedition," Director White announced to the station's council. "The Unity will lead a fleet of hybrid ships to explore beyond our solar system." The announcement sparked excitement throughout the stations. Teams of human and Bright One scientists began preparing for the mission, sharing their knowledge of space and its dangers. In the engineering labs, new technologies were being developed daily. Crystal computers processed information in ways that traditional systems never could. Medical teams found ways to use crystal energy to extend human life and health. "Look at these readings," Dr. Wilson showed his colleagues. "The crystal treatments aren't just healing injuries, they're making human cells more resilient. We might have doubled our natural lifespan." The Bright Ones shared their star maps, showing humans paths through space they had never known existed. In return, humans shared their understanding of planetary systems and biological adaptation. On the day of the Unity's official launch, all 12 stations held celebrations. Humans and Bright Ones gathered in the observation decks to watch. The ship's crystal hull gleamed in Jupiter's light, pulsing with power and possibility. Captain Miller, chosen to command the first mission, stood on the bridge. His crew was equally divided between humans and Bright Ones, each chosen for their skills and their ability to work together. 1 year ago, he addressed his crew. We were strangers, separated by the vastness of space. Today we are family, united in exploration. The Unity powered up its hybrid engines. Crystal energy flowed through human-designed conduits, creating a new form of propulsion that could safely bend space itself. As the ship prepared to depart, Director White received a message from Earth. The World Council had officially recognized the Jupiter stations as humanity's first successful multi-species civilization. More importantly, they had approved the construction of similar stations throughout the solar system. We didn't just save a species, he told his staff as they watched the Unity depart. We found a new way forward. Together, we're stronger than we ever were apart. The Unity disappeared into the depths of space, carrying with it the hopes of two civilizations. It was more than a ship. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when different species chose to work together, to learn from each other, and to build a future that was greater than their past. The rescue that had begun in crisis had led to humanity's greatest adventure. The stars waited, and for the first time, they would be explored by humans and Bright Ones together.